So I've always identified more as a nerdy artist type than a sports person. I typically like to intellectualize things, analyze them, make some art about them, and growing up my sport of choice was ballet, which is one of the artsiest sports out there. Plus, I was terrible at any other sport we had to play in school. So when it comes to the Olympics, I usually like the opening ceremonies and maybe gymnastics, and that's it. But not this year. This year, I really got into it. For context, I am French and I live in France, so the fact that Paris was hosting the Olympics was extra exciting. In fact, I got to go there. I soaked up the vibe, I bought some merch, and I watched a lot of competitions. And as I did, I figured something out. The Olympics are not a sports competition. They're not actually about figuring out who is the best athlete in the world. The Olympics pretend to be that, it's a nice idea, but really they're about something else. And that something else was so inspiring that I just had to make some art about it. If this is your first time here, my name is Marianne, hello, and I'm a stained glass artist. Usually my videos are a little bit more about fantasy than sports, but I actually found a lot of parallels with that during this Olympic season, so let's discuss. So my country, France, hosted the Olympics this year, which was amazing. I had a lot of hope, but also a lot of worry for what kind of image the creative team would give of France. So I kind of held my breath when the opening ceremony started. But with the exception of Lady Gaga's performance, I was blown away. It was both patriotic and inclusive. Gender equality was at the heart of it. There was a deaf performer signing a song. There were queer performance. There was a black opera singer above the roofs of Paris. Dancers swinging in the skies. There was the camp decapitation of Marie Antoinette, a metal concert, and that song with the Republican Guard and Aya Nakamura. Just, there was so much to love about it. But the image I loved the most during the ceremony was the Pegasus and its rider, riding above the Seine towards the Eiffel Tower. Wow. It was like a vision of this bright, otherworldly, winged horse in the darkness. You could feel the hope, the wonder. It was this kind of ancient, impossible creature made real. So, needless to say, I was really inspired by the ceremony, so I made some art to try and capture the beauty of it. So let me explain what I did. Welcome to my Olympics brainstorms. What I did is I tried to use the mind map technique to put together the main ideas that came up for me when I was watching everything. And then I highlighted things that kept coming up. So for the Pegasus, there was of course the grace, beauty, weightlessness of it. There was the dreamlike quality of the image. From a more philosophical point of view, if you will, there's the fact that this is an impossible image running on water. This also made me think of the Olympic flame that floated up into the air at the end of the ceremony. That's also kind of an impossible image. So this is something that keeps coming up, this idea of impossibility come true. Then there's the idea of the journey being more beautiful than the destination. The journey of the Pegasus towards the Eiffel Tower is extremely long. It was kind of too long, but the journey itself was a work of art, so I thought that was important to highlight. And then there was an aspect which I didn't end up doing anything about. The Pegasus and the rider were both mechanical, and so that made me think of the fact that humanity is always striving for more, always trying to build and engineer our own genius, our own success. That's something that I would like to explore at some point, but didn't really get anywhere with. There's something about optimizing the body and the mind, which goes back to the engineering part here, seeing athletes achieve the impossible, seeing the ceremony achieve impossible images, kind of makes me feel like I could do impossible things too. It also made me think of an Alice in Wonderland quote, I think it's the Queen of Hearts, that says, "Sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." And I think there's something to that. There's something to that with the Olympics, with sports in general. Now we're moving on to sketches. So this one you might have seen, I made a short about it. And so you can see how I drew all that. And then I tried to figure out ways to turn my ideas into Olympics-inspired images. So I have this sort of dancer-like, maybe gymnast-like character trying to reach a star, trying to reach the sky, the impossible, perfection, etc. And then I transferred that sketch into a more robot-like figure, which I think could be interesting. Added a cauldron because I thought my style is witchy and It's all about magic and witchcraft, and there's nothing magical here. So I added a cauldron, but I don't think it goes at all. And then here, I just wanted to play around with the Art Nouveau style of framing, because the Paris 2024 Olympics happened a century after the Paris 1924 Olympics. You can see this influence actually if you look at the logo of the Paris Olympics. The font is kind of stylized to look a little bit like Art Nouveau, which, by the way, was in style. It was the modern style at the time. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of try and incorporate that into my sketch. Next, sketches. I tried to figure out how to incorporate maybe the Olympic rings into a sketch. A long road leading to the Olympic rings, a character looking up into the sky, and the moon looking like Olympic rings. That didn't really work. Then I found this beautiful image of a Pegasus coming out of the sea, which I think is great, but it's fully copied from something I saw on Google Image. I don't really have an idea to make it better, to make it different, to make it my own, so it's not going to turn into anything. And then finally I have this. Don't pay attention to the colors. I tried to incorporate the Olympic rings colors into this one. I think it looks terrible, but if you imagine other colors for this, I actually think this is cute. This character is inspired by the sort of superhero-like figure that we saw running across the roofs of Paris to hand over the flame to finally light the cauldron. This figure is actually inspired by Assassin's Creed, which was developed by Ubisoft, which is a French company. So that's pretty cool. And then I added some clouds to imply the fact that the character is floating, hence the impossible image. I thought I would give the character like kind of a mage-like quality with a magic staff with a heart on top to harken back to my Alice in Wonderland quote of impossible things. So I have a few notions of impossibility. There's a sense of anonymity, like this character could be anyone, any gender, any athlete. They very much look like the hero. So I quite like this idea, but it wasn't a strong enough image, so I kept brainstorming. I tried to think of different poses for the character, running, just standing there. This is another version of the staff. And then this is more of a study, really. It is a bit of an awkward pose, sort of half squatting. So we moved on. This is the last page and the page where we got the furthest. Basically, the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland not being clearly incorporated really in these previous sketches, I thought, well, why not turn it into a playing card? So I have the format of the playing card here with the two hearts, top and bottom, and then the character, again, with the clouds. It's not a bad composition, but it looks a little bit off. So I tried other versions. I quite like this one with the staff kind of going across the image. I randomly tried another pose. This is the Olympic flame. More of a graphic designy thing. So then I had the idea of just incorporating the Olympic flame with our hero character. Maybe they're holding two fireballs that turn into the Olympic flame, something like that. So those were the starting points for my brainstorm. So what are the Olympics about, really? The Olympics are about this deeply human need to strive, to reach ever further, to grab the impossible and make it real. The Olympics are not about achieving the perfect form, they're about working tirelessly to get there. They're about the tension of the unexpected. Is the ball going in? Will our team get the score they need? You can't script this stuff, from the injuries to the unexpected strokes of genius, the great athlete choking under pressure or rising to the occasion. Just like any Dungeons & Dragons campaign, if I may, you just don't know what's going to happen next. Everything is improvised, impossible to predict, and the moment only happens once. Also, like any D&D campaign, every body type is represented. You have short gymnasts, big weightlifters, thin runners, wide swimmers, every possible version of human, apart from disabled humans, of course, but that will be in the Paralympics, was there. And everybody was great at something. And that's such a rare and beautiful thing to behold in a world where body rules are still trending and so-called health is given an aesthetic or look to abide by. The Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland liked to believe in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Olympic athletes believe in one impossible thing, that they could be the best, that they might win against the entire world, that their years of preparation, their genetics, their training schedule, their diet, their mental game, their drive, their skill might put them ahead of the rest. It's a heroic story where impossible is nothing, where the journey is as meaningful as the destination, and where the whole world gets to cheer them on. They say that sports is the most important of the unimportant things, and it doesn't matter who can jump the furthest, but also it does. Millions of people coming together to focus on one thing, one moment, one match, one backflip. That's what the Olympics are about. The togetherness, the attention, the heartbeats synchronizing, all together under one flag, the fire in our hearts burning, an ever-burning flame. That's what I think the Olympics are about. Let me know if you agree or if you think that was all nonsense. As a note, the Paralympics are on from August 28th to September 8th. Don't miss them. I, for one, am very excited to discover so many sports and athletes I haven't heard of before. If you liked this video, you should watch this one, where I look for artists in the public domain whose work I can steal and make my own. It's a fun time. On that note, I'm gonna get back to the Paralympics, and I will see you very soon. Bye!